The two most difficult time periods for SSRIs is at the start when you're coming on them, and at the end when you're coming off them. And I think particularly at the start when you're coming on them can be a very traumatic time for people who start on SSRIs, and I don't think most people are not prepared at all for the experience that they're going to get. And there's very little guidance and very little help for people starting SSRIs and what they'd expect, and sometimes people go through a torturous experience. But I think if managed properly, then it can be handled properly. And I think I've been through the experience, both positive and negative, so I can give my experience here, and hopefully that will help. So I've done a previous video on how coming off SSRIs, and that's a tricky period, but coming on SSRIs is a very tricky time. And the reason is your body is not used to it, particularly if you're on nothing at the moment, then your body is not used to this chemical. And one of the things that people say about SSRIs, and one of the people who are opposed to them, and I wouldn't be one of those group, is that these are unnatural chemicals. None of these chemicals are found in nature, unlike say St. John's wort or 5-HTP and things like that. These SSRIs are factory made in a lab, they're not found in nature, and that's why the body finds it very difficult to cope. And that's very true just on a basic biochemical level. And the other aspect is that it is acting on your brain, and that will affect your brain-gut connection, and it will cause some amount of havoc with your gut, and that's certainly to be expected as well. There is a massive psychological aspect to it as well. So if you believe that these things will help you psychologically, then that will help you an awful lot. So I think that's the important thing to bear in mind, that when you're taking these things, fully embrace them and believe that they can help you, and that would be my advice to you. Even though, look, you will hear horror stories, and I've been through horrible experiences, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be. And there are plenty of SSRIs that have helped me, and I hope they help you too. So coming on them, I think an essential part of that is tapering up. And I think there's very little advice, and people are not advised enough to taper up on SSRIs, and they should be. The medical community is far too eager to push people onto high doses of these things, and as a result people have very bad side effects from them, because your side effects are determined by the dose that you're going to go on. So I think, for instance, in Cipramil, a lot of people would start maybe at 20 milligrams, but tapering at 10 milligrams or even 5 milligrams is a lot more preferable. Get your body used to it and gradually build it up. And also the advantage of that is you may find that you get a lot of benefit at very low doses that you wouldn't know otherwise. And as I said before, I think the most benefit that people get is going from nothing to a low dose of SSRIs. That's just my anecdotal experience. And that the further incremental benefit people get from ramping up the doses isn't very appreciable. So that's the number one suggestion I'd make, is that you taper up very gradually. The second suggestion is that you massively increase your water intake. You should be drinking lots of water anyway for your physical and mental health, because your body is crying out for water. None of us really are properly hydrated in modern society. A lot of our foods is sucking water out of us, and coffee is a diuretic and it's sucking water out of us. Quite nice though, and I can't do without it. Oh, very good. Like a Demerkel coffee, I love it too much. And it does suck a bit of water out of me, but it can be replaced. Massively increase your water intake, and particularly at the start when you're ramping up, because that's the main effect. Your body will be dehydrated. It'll be a little bit shocked by the new chemical coming in. So the more you increase the water intake, the more you're flushing the toxins out of your system. And that will improve things for you, I think. It certainly has for me. I had side effects at the start when coming on medication initially, and once I was ruthless about taking enough water and massively increasing the water intake, then I was absolutely fine. And this is a really crucial one. So is to stay in consultation with your doctor when you're starting off first, or have somebody very close to you who will be able to monitor you and be close to you on a daily basis. And the reason is because these things can push the people up or down And it can be a very tough, unstable time for some people when they're starting off with these things. And so it's just, I would make a very deliberate point of having somebody who is at the end of a phone really immediately, that you can talk to if these things are causing you heightened anxiety, which a lot of the times they will. So your doctor is obviously the best person, and also have a close friend or family member who for 3 to 5 days that will be there for you. And I know it's a very tweet and we're kind of loath to say that, oh, you should have somebody who you can rely on to do it, because the reality is a lot of people don't have anybody that they can rely on, and that's the sad fact of modern life. And I'd like to just say that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who feel they don't have somebody that they can talk to about something very deep and close to them, and that's sad. But I think even there, I think push yourself to find that name of somebody, and they are out there. It's just a matter of kind of pushing yourself to ask the question, and they will be delighted to help you, because it is a very sensitive time and you need to have somebody there. And you mightn't even know it yourself that you're kind of going down and you're finding it very hard. Because so the fourth bit, and it's tied to that, is just be aware of the side effects and don't be too freaked out by them. It's quite possible that you might be in the first 2 or 3 days out somewhere and you feel a little bit of rush of anxiety and maybe even a little bit of panic, but it's okay. You'll ride through it. Just take deep breaths and allow your body to relax. And I've done videos on Wim Hof breathing here, and what I find is, if you're, no matter how anxious you are, if you do Wim Hof breathing and deep breathing, it's next to impossible for your body physiologically to stay anxious or to stay panicked. So look at those and try and keep your breathing under control, and that is essential. They're my main feelings about starting SSRIs. It's not easy. For some people, it'll be the start of the first days of the rest of their life, a better life where they're going to squeeze the best out of it, and I've seen those days. And for other people, it may be a really tough and trying time, and you need to have people beside you to rely on and to talk through what's happening to you, and just ride through, because the first 4 to 5 days, if you can get through those, then the brighter days are ahead, and it'll allow itself starting to take. Now, the recommendation is that it'll take 6 weeks for these things to happen, for the effect to start, but in my experience, it takes about 6 hours for Celexa, which I've reviewed here as well. It's immediate. I'm totally different to the profile that they recommend. If you've started SSRIs recently or are about to start SSRIs, let me know in the comments, and let me know your fears and anxieties, and if I can, I'll reply and I'll help if I can. So whatever's you're trying, I hope it works for you, and see you next time.